So we are finished with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So now we're going to go back into history on where we left off. So after the Constitutional Convention and after the American Revolution, we have like this surefire president. Okay. There's no election for the next president. He's kind of just asked if he will do it. Now, Washington is reluctant. He wants to retire. He's getting older. He served as the general in the American Revolution. And then he was the advisor or like the overseer of the Constitutional Convention. And he just wants to retire back to his home in Mount Vernon. But he's been asked to do this, and he says, okay, I will do it. I will oblige the nation. And so he takes over as our president, and there's a bunch of things that have to be figured out, right? So he's the very first. Things like in section 1 from yesterday, things like, what do we call our president? Like simple things. People are thinking like, Your Excellency. And he's like, no, we don't want to be like a king. So you can just call me Mr. President. And so that term still exists today. He also has to set up the executive branch. And part of the executive branch is having a cabinet. The cabinet are your closest advisors. And there were much fewer cabinet members when Washington was president than we have now. So now we have like Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Transportation. We have all these experts in their field. Here's a picture of Washington with his main cabinet. You've got Henry Knox, who was one of his trusted buddies during the American Revolutions. He helped bring the cannons from Fort Ticonderoga into Boston. So he's his Secretary of War. And then you have two prominent figures that we're going to be focusing on today. We have Alexander Hamilton and then Thomas Jefferson. So Hamilton's going to be in charge of the Treasury, and then Jefferson's going to be the Secretary of State, like communication with other countries. So you probably recognize Alexander Hamilton's name, famous musical, and the city of Hamilton's named after him. Extra credit opportunity before our next test. If you go into the city of Hamilton, there's a huge mural on the side of a building of Alexander Hamilton. If you get your picture in front of that mural, I'll give you extra credit. And then there's also a giant statue. And if you get a picture with that giant statue of Alexander Hamilton, I'll give you extra credit for that also. Be very careful when you find that statue because it's in the middle of a street. So you need to make sure you're following crosswalk directions before you get your picture or your selfie with them. So those are some extra credit opportunities. So those are the two people that we're going to be focusing on today. And these two guys couldn't be more opposites. If one person says one thing, the other guy is going to just switch over and go to the opposite opinion. So they butt heads constantly. And so today, what you're going to be doing is you are going to be focusing on one of those two guys. So from your slides from yesterday, I'm on slide 2. You're going to see there's a discussion. See these little speech bubbles. So half of you in this room are going to be in charge of doing Alexander Hamilton. And then the other half is going to be in charge of filling in the speech bubbles for Jefferson. And then tomorrow when I'm back, we are going to have this actual debate discussion. You are going to be writing quite a lot in these bubbles. So if you need to change your font and make it smaller so it all fits, you can do that. So if you are Alexander Hamilton, you're going to be the people who are sitting behind the counter in my room. And then if you are sitting on the floor, you are going to be doing Thomas Jefferson. So if you're in the desk with like the little pocket slots, you're going to be doing Jefferson. And then the people behind the counter up on the stage part in my room, you're going to be Alexander Hamilton. So that's what you're going to be responsible for doing in class today. You're going to be filling in these bubbles. And these are very straightforward in either section 3 or 4, depending on which person you're assigned. You're going to fill in how they view on each one of these questions. What I want you to do is make sure that you're filling in with a lot of detail, but you're not writing word for word from the textbook. I want you putting it in your own words because tomorrow we're going to be having this discussion and this debate, and you're going to fill in the other side's position based on what they say during our debate. So again, today you're only responsible for either your side, Hamilton or Jefferson. If you have extra time, I want you to make sure that you go and fill in slides 4 and slides 5. It's not homework yet, but those 2 slides will eventually be homework. So tonight, if you don't finish slides 2 and 3, just your half, that is homework. Okay? Slides 4 and slides 5 are not homework.